Well, to begin with, to kind of take this forward, the whole momentum we have built, we have a very exciting panel. And to introduce our first set of guests, I would like to start with Mr. Jatin Gandhi. He's the executive editor for Jagran New Media. Welcome, sir. Shri Devendra Kumar, Director, DBT Mission, Cabinet Secretariat, Government of India. Shri Golok Kumar Simli, CTO, Passport Seva, Ministry of External Affairs. Shri Amod Kumar, Deputy General, UIDAI. And to moderate the session, I would like to call upon Mr. Rajneil Kamath, founder, NC Media. Welcome, all of you. We have our first session on impact of misinformation on brands, services, and governance. Over to you, Mr. Kamath.
Is this working? Okay, great. Hi, good morning. My name is Rajneil Kamath. I'm the co-founder of a newsletter and podcast company called The Signal and the founder of News Checker. Today, we're here discussing the impact of misinformation on brands, governance, and services. Traditionally, when we think of misinformation, we often think it impacts politics and political outcomes. But over the last couple of years, what we've also noticed that it's impacting brand, it's impacting the delivery of services. Think about this. There were 5G mobile towers that were being burnt because of certain misinformation that people saw. This was impacting the nature of service as well as the company that put up the towers. Very recently, after Twitter got musked, Eli Lilly, a company that makes insulin, lost 5% in market value because they saw a handle which said insulin for free. Many people say, what is the cost of misinformation? You can ask Google, the associate sponsor, because around last week they lost 100 billion in value after Google Bard showed information that was incorrect, right? Brands are getting impacted. It's not just brands, even services. There have been misconceptions about the Agnipath scheme, for example, which led to a lot of, in some protests in many cases. Pictures of midday meals which made people lose faith. Many people think under some Pradhan Mantri Yojana, they're either going to get a lot of cash, a free laptop, a free mobile phone. Misinformation is impacting everything, right? In terms of the format, we'll have 90 seconds opening remarks from everyone, followed by a conversation and then questions. Let me go to Mr. Amod Kumar first. So you've been running the UID. What are the kind of things that you all see online or the misconceptions that people have? And where do you find the need to come in and solve some of these myths?
So, I mean, Aadhaar, as you all know, is the largest digital identity platform in the world. And we have the data of about 1.4 billion residents of the country. And every day we do 70 million authentications. So every day, 70 million times we return the answer in yes or no, whether X is X or not. And so we, in a sense, are, and that's why you call Aadhaar and Aadhaar, because Aadhaar is the foundation of trust of digital India. And I think when you talk about misinformation, the main constituent of any relationship, main constituent of any business is trust. And that is where Aadhaar plays a big role in building businesses, building lives, building systems across the country and now even globally. That if you can trust the other person, that other person is not befooling you or not misrepresenting something. So that is the power of Aadhaar as far as building trust and correct information is concerned. On the one hand, we are the trust builders, but on the other hand, we also fight the misinformation. Many times, if you remember one of our previous CEOs, he tweeted his Aadhaar number and said that even if somebody comes to know your Aadhaar number, there's no damage they can do to you. And actually, there was no damage done to him, but still, people feared so much. So that's one misinformation that people fear कि मेरा Aadhaar number चला जाएगा तो क्या होगा. Although now, because Aadhaar is linked to so many things, many times what happens that there is a problem in the payment gateway, there is a problem in some scheme, there is a problem, somebody forges somebody else's Aadhaar and blame comes on us. So actually, I mean, that is one misinformation we have been fighting about and telling everyone. And as you correctly, I think you started, you gave a wonderful examples of how misinformation can impact. And we also fight this misinformation every day, because whatever goes wrong in a digital space, ultimately, because we are the foundation, many times the blame comes on us, although the failure is somewhere else. For example, somebody uses PDF editor and creates an Aadhaar of someone, and that Aadhaar is not digitally verified. And then people say that there is a fake Aadhaars in the market. That is not a fake Aadhaar. That is a fake PDF. Aadhaar is a digital identity which needs to be verified digitally. If you verify it physically, like many of the people are doing, then it loses value. So that is one misinformation we have been fighting. There are many other misinformation, I think. As we go along, I think I've taken more than 90 seconds, right?
Thank you. Mr. Kumar, Passport Seva has been one of the successes that a lot of people really like, right? They think it's a smooth experience, not just online when you're applying, but also when you come to the Passport Kendra to actually do your verification. From your perspective as CTO, what were some of the kinds of doubts that you had to encounter, and what kind of system do you put in place to track the different questions that people are asking, the different stories that people may have, the myths that may get created?
Thank you. Let me at the outset thanks IAMAI, the other partners for having me here. I also greet all my co-panelists before I start. Coming back to Passport as a transformation, as a digital transformation, I think where are we heading if you see country at large, the development path which we have now taken forward, and the recent budget, if you all see, the focus on Saptarishi, right? And then the Amrit Kal for next 25 years, let's say, till 2047. I think these big programs, whether it is Aadhaar, whether it is Passport, whether it is DigiLocker, whether it is GSTN, I can name plethora of these services. I think where are we coming from if you see all these big programs? To my mind, there are 3-4 things comes very straight. The first issue was, and which is we are continuously working, we are continuously kind of improving, is the demographic imbalance. Now, when I say demographic imbalance, what does it actually mean? In terms of education, in terms of literacy, in terms of reach, in terms of poor and kind of a people like who has come into the mainstream. How do we bridge this demographic imbalance? That was the, I think, first concerns when we were kind of revamping the passport issuance system at large. How do we bridge that demographic imbalance? The second factor was the democratization process. Are we really following a democratization process when we are dealing with these big services? Again, as I said, whatever I name it. And when I say democratization process, can you really cut the red tape? Can you make it accessible to all, wherever I am? Let me give a small example so that we can connect. Today, if you access a passport services, whether you are accessing from Delhi, Mumbai, or Chennai, or some villager accessing from a remote village of UP, Jharkhand, or Bihar, absolutely there is no difference in terms of access, in terms of servicing that people, in terms of making it available wherever I am, closer to the user, anytime, anywhere, 24/7, any device kind of a scenario. So can you do that? And when we are doing that, believe me, we have 4 things in mind. How do we connect wherever you are? How do we communicate? Once I connect, how do you communicate? Whatever language you understand, whatever way you want to connect me, how do I communicate? And then how do I service? Even if I connect and communicate, how do I service you? And then finally I deliver. And when I was looking one side of it, I'll take another 30 seconds. The other side of the problem was, how do you continuously innovate? How do you collaborate? Today we are sitting government, industry, media houses, right? We are talking about a lot of misinformation, right? How do you bridge that gap? How do you collaborate? And once you innovate, collaborate, how do you transform? So if you take this holistic approach, I think what we are realizing is a large, whether it is, as I said, passport services or any of these big programs, they are giving best example in the world, not only in India. And believe me, passport services, I have visited many countries. I think we are one of the best. I compare any of the Western countries or any part of the world. So thank you. I think I'll take further on my next part. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the common kinds of claims we see spreading on a lot of messaging apps is that your account is going to get credited with 5,000 rupees because there's something called the PM Ramban Suraksha Yojana, for example, or there's going to be a free laptop that you're going to get. And in many instances, you will either get free crypto from the government of India or something like that. Mr. Devendra Kumar is director for DBT, a lot of this probably hinges with you, right? Because people are expecting something to come from you to them. So how do you deal with that and, set the record straight of what they can actually get versus what they believe they're going to get?
So first of all, I would like to thank IAMAI for conducting such a, summit to, connect with the government and as well as to the private entity. And just as a speaker has told recently that during the opening session, that the today era is governed by the digital technology and the era of digital revolution. So as government has also moved out from the physical manual to the digital platform, and digital public infrastructure has been created. As Amod sir has rightly said that he is authenticating 7 crores authentication per day. So digital public infrastructure, whether it is a type of Aadhaar stake, whether it is a mobile is there, or whether it is a your Jandhan account is there. So these all three basic fundamental structure is for the direct benefit transfer. And right, as you said that there is a lot of messages are coming, the phishing messages are coming to the individual, to the beneficiary. Government is biggest service provider to the nation, and if you see the scaling of the services which has been provided by the government of India or the state government is very, very huge. For the information of all of you, like in the PDS, we are having the 80 crores of beneficiaries. So reaching out perfectly to the 80 crore people, authenticating each individual to the digitally to ensure that the right person is right and intended beneficiaries are getting the benefit is the biggest challenge to the government, and which we are doing through the digital public infrastructures, like using the Aadhaar as a unique identifier. To prevent the misinformation to the beneficiary, we are giving the platforms. Like if somebody is the beneficiary of PM Kisan, he can go to the PM Kisan platform and see whether his amount has been credited or not. And if not, then at what stage his application is there. So if somebody is giving a wrong information to the individual beneficiaries, then he can easily re-authenticate, he can verify, he can track his application, his, the credited amount easily through that mobile, using the mobile, which is the easiest thing today. And almost more than 800 million mobiles are there, smartphones are there in India. So we are able to reach and we are able to counter the misinformation utilizing the digital public infrastructures and also through the digital literacy. And media plays a very good and important role for us to prevent the misinformation to spread it to the individuals. Like Government of India is promoting all that UPI, and they are also promoting the e-rupees. They are also promoting the people to come forward and do the things online. To prevent any sort of misinformation, we are using the platform called end-to-end digitalization and providing all the information through the Umang app, which is the mother of all government services app. So in one app, more than 110 services are there by which individual can go and access the information. So this is the way we are countering the misinformation available for, in the public domain. So also especially the private sectors is requested that they should also play a very proactive role to spread the government intent to reach out to all the our public and ensure that misinformation is not being grabbed at any time, any place. So,
Thank you. Jatin, Jagran also runs Vishwas News, which is a fact-checking division. I'm going to shift a little bit from services to brands and products. Very often we see someone saying there's acid in some drink, there's plastic in atta or in your chips. How do you see brands getting impacted by this, and how do you think they're reacting to it currently?
So I think to take the second part of your question first, I think right now the reaction is not holistic. I mean, the action that follows is mainly reactionary. When something happens to you, then you try and do some damage control or firefight. I mean, just last week we had this video circulating from Kashmir, which compared two, 2 packs of Amul butter, and the video said that one of them is fake and one of them is an original, and that was circulated so widely that the company had to come out, and it's a very respected, trusted brand, and the company had to come out and issue a clarification saying that these are the same. But what happens is when misinformation starts, it also so essentially what what brands have been doing, they've been using persuasive communication. But when the same strategy starts working against them, then it's difficult to convince people. I was looking at the comments that followed the the disclaimer that the company put out. One of the users, and this would be one of the examples of several users, one of the users said, but the taste is also not the same, even though a clarification has gone out. Now the thing is that misinformation is, we see misinformation as trying to supply wrong information or trying to fill up an information gap with the wrong kind of information, which is for either political gain, ideological gain, financial gain. But at the same time, there is a mirror to this. I mean, you profit from spreading this, but the aspect that we ignore is the losses that misinformation can cause. So just as, why do we need information? We need information so that we can make the right kind of choices. The choice can be, the pandemic is spreading, a certain wave is on, my child is unwell, what should I do to, make sure that, she or he suffers the least and that they're safe, my family is safe. So these are information gaps. If we do not provide the correct information, there are players, there are bad actors who will come in quickly and supply wrong information. And that's where this change starts. Now, the panelists on my right, he mentioned that it is necessary to spread the right kind of information. So we as a race, humans need information to make choices. If those people who are impacted by misinformation, if we do not supply the right kind of information, whether we are dealing in products or services or governance in the end is just a service which delivers democracy to the citizen. So if we do not supply the right kind of information, trust can be built only through transparency. And if we are not spreading this information, it's bound to be filled by bad actors.
Right. We've seen a lot of instances. For example, ITC had to go through a bound where they said there was no plastic in their Ashirwad atta. Cadbury's was forced to respond very recently by saying that we do not use any bovine products or any bovine things that you can extract in their chocolate. Increasingly, we find that even governments are now being forced to issue clarifications in some way or the other. And it goes back to this fundamental thing of how do you build trust? So as each one of us who are running different organizations, sir, I'll come to you first again. As Aadhaar, how do you build trust in the system itself? How do you think you want to define trust and then build that over time?
So I think you have only said in your last sentence that trust is built over time. So that's one thing which is always to be kept in mind, that it takes time. No matter what you say, I can give many examples from the government where you are trying to convince people that this is done this way, no, this is right, but nobody believes you. And especially the government, it is, before working in the government, I was also on the other side of the table, and I understand people generally, it is harder for governments to make people believe, because government is a monopoly, and there have been many cases where people have been fooled by the government. So it is tougher task compared to any other brand or company or an organization which are not monopolies. Those who are monopoly and those who have a long history, because there have been instances of breach of trust. So it is very hard for us to make people believe us. So what do we do in such a tough scenario? Number one, of course, we begin by building it bit by bit, and we, like for example, case of Aadhaar, again, right from the beginning when we started, people were saying कि ये क्या फालतू की चीज़ है, इसमें क्या होगा, किसी का भी बन जाता है, मतलब there are so many things, and people had to be cajoled into making the Aadhaar. But once system starts building, people see the results for themselves, then the credibility comes on its own. So that's number one. And then transparency. If people know what is there and there is nothing hidden from them, and there is a level playing field, there is no discrimination, there is no hidden agenda, because many times governments, politics and governments are closely related in a democracy, and people, many times, unfortunately, people do have hidden agendas. So if you do not have any hidden agendas, you have to be over transparent. Not transparency also doesn't work. You have to be over transparent. When I say over transparent, that means again the role of information. You try to, for example, it may not be necessary to give certain information to citizens. काम तो चल ही रहा है. Still you bring out the information in the newspapers and in media about educating the citizens, so that people know that there is no hidden agenda there. So over transparency in that sense. And of course, in the end, what works automatically sells. For example, Aadhaar now, over the time now, nobody can imagine a life without Aadhaar. Almost 100% adults in India have Aadhaar. And most of the time they carry Aadhaar. So I think that is, and why they carry, because slowly and gradually, for any transaction, to prove yourself that you are you only, you need that. So, and fintech and so many applications, I think you are all aware. So it took time for us to build the trust. In between there are instances which are happening, and we keep giving clarification, and that's in the same sense that this is what happened. These were the steps followed. This is where the breach happened. It has nothing to do with Aadhaar. So I think we need to be proactive. Only reactive won't work. So it has to be done both ways.
Got it. Mr. Golok Kumar, I'm assuming when people get their passport on time, trust is high. And then if they don't get it on time or there's a problem, then trust goes for a toss. And in many cases, it may not be because of the system, it may be because of incomplete documentation or a procedural hassle, which may be going and checking or something like that. So from your perspective, how do you build that system where people are confident that they will get their passport ultimately?
No, I think very good. Jatin ji also said, saying that I think it takes time to build that trust. But let me tell you, saying that I think I have never seen the citizens of India are so well behaved. Let me quote another real life example. When we started Passport Seva somewhere, we went live on 2012. And I think somehow because of the new system, there are a lot of many changes happening from legacy to new, that there was a time, no, a complete headline were coming on the newspaper saying that what is happening, right? But we never given up, saying that, okay, fine, citizens are complaining, that means there is a problem, there is a issue, right? Now the same citizens, you know, they are so well behaved after running the system for, let's say, 7, 8 years. Just after the pandemic, since pandemic, the volume we could not serve, we could only serve maybe 30% of the total volume. And suddenly after the pandemic, when we opened in 2022, my volume became double, right? I was serving around 1.5 crore, 1.2 crore application, that become double. Just imagine any platform you created, any kind of a manpower you have planned, everything went for a toss, right? And the Twitter platform, which we have launched a Twitter platform, suddenly we used to get 1,000, 1,200 tweets per day, right? We said, no, there is something going wrong. We are not able to serve properly. Then we started a special drive. We took almost 10, 12 days. Suddenly, we found that the Twitter complaint per day has come down to less than 100. So it doesn't, it really reflects that citizens were complaining not for the sake of complaining, right? There is an issue. And that is why I think the idea is whatever transformation we are doing, whatever digital we are doing, whatever work we are doing, I think the crux is how do you create that accountability, transparency, time, and sustainability. If you create these 4 factors together, and then you look towards the citizen, what citizen is looking after me, or towards a government department. Now, 2 things. One is citizen always look for ease of services. And how do you achieve that ease of services, right? We every day heard about ease of doing business. What does it actually mean? When you create some kind of this kind of a transformation, ease of doing business is nothing but how do you create that ecosystem at large? When I say ecosystem, it's not merely the government department. Your stakeholder, your dependencies, your system integrator, OEMs, and then how do you innovate that kind of a business model, that kind of a sustainability, that kind of a infrastructure. And if you create that ecosystem in a holistic way, I have personally seen citizens are very well behaved. They are responding to your call. They are not for the sake of complaining, as I said. And your job becomes much more easier when you, create that kind of a transparency and service delivery ecosystem. Your job becomes much easier. Another one small time I'll take saying that when we are dealing with so much of a volume and mass, I'm today dealing almost more than 90,000 people per day, right? I have often the grievance channel for everybody. There are multiple channel of grievance, and you tweet me, I'll respond for, right? Those channel of grievance should work. It's just not for the sake of creating an open channel of grievance. How do you take that grievance, that suggestion, that feedback, make it actionable in fact, give it back to the citizens? If you can do that, I think nothing like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Devendra Kumar, has there ever been a situation where someone's asked you for that 15 lakhs in their bank account? And how do you kind of tell them that what you heard was actually misinformation, but here's how much you are entitled to perhaps get, and then explain the scheme to them? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, just for example, we can say that how we have built up the trust. So one of the scheme you might all be aware that PM Kisan. So the architecture of that platform has been designed in such a way that all the information are available on your fingertips. So like in PM Kisan, you can apply online. As soon as you apply, you will get the intimation on your mobile phone that you have applied. So this information goes to you, so you are aware that you have applied. When the application is processed, you get that your application has been processed and you are either eligible or not eligible. If not eligible, then we intimate that yes, because you have not given the land record, so you are not eligible. Either update your eligibility details on the portal or you will be rejected. When you get the payment, then all the installments are being credited and SMS is sent to on the individual mobiles. So what happens, this gives a trust building exercise to the individual that you are entitled for this much of amount. You are entitled because you are not in the exclusion criteria, like you are not paying the income tax, etc. And when you get the amount credited or the benefit credited on your account, you get the intimation. So by utilizing the platform architecture in such a way that individual beneficiaries are well intimated in advance about their process, about their entitlement, and when they get the benefit, the details have been communicated. So this prevents any sort of misinformation to the individual, right? So this is the example of one scheme. And these all schemes, we can also tell that because of any third person or middleman, you cannot get benefit. How? So we will design the scheme in such a way that the things are all digitalized. So online application is there, when processing is there is no human interference, so processing will be online and without any discretion. And when delivery is there, it is directly, payment is credited in the individual bank account electronically. So in all three stages, there is no human intervention. So information is crystal and clear that you can utilize, you are entitled and you are getting. If you are not entitled, you are not getting, nobody can influence or nobody can provide you the benefit. Similarly in the schemes, just I am giving example through the example so that you can understand these schemes better way. Like in a scholarship schemes, more than 1.2 crore, 1.77 crores applicants were there. So you can understand the volume. And like in PM Kisan also, more than 100 million beneficiaries are there and they are credited seamlessly into the individual accounts. So because of the government architectural design and in digitalization and good governance reform, we are able to reach to the every farmers and able to provide the financial assistance accurately, timely, transparent manner. For the scholarship also, we are having the different scholarship schemes run by the 13 ministries in the central government. And all the scholarships eligibility criteria are well defined in the National Scholarship Portal. So on portal, individual comes, they register themselves, they get the OTP on their mobile, and they also get the registration details that you have registered. And whenever there is a process, like a school verify that this student is from my school, so and that process also they are getting intimated from automatically through the bulk SMS that your application has been processed. So what happens? He is not dependent on the school or the individual that he is going to the school and asking every time that mera application ho gaya hai ki nahi ho gaya hai. Automatically the communication is done to the individual. Similarly, when there is two levels of verification, so second level of verification happens, they are given that you have been, second level of your verification has been completed. And when they are eligible, they are told that your application has been processed and you are eligible for that particular scholarship. And finally, as per their entitlement, they are getting the benefit in their bank account. So this every stage communication, information and proactive intimation of the intended beneficiary ensures that there is no misinformation and third party cannot intervene and middleman cannot intervene. And it also prevents any sort of corruption or any sort of loss to the government of India exchequer. So that is the way we are working. And now all the new schemes are designed in very well planned architecture platform so that all the stages end-to-end digitalization is there and in citizen get the actual experience which you are getting in the private sectors. So government is also acting in these citizen-centric services, focusing the best experience which we can provide to them through the chatbot is also there. There is we are also advertising to the each and every scheme that what are the benefits are provided, how you can apply it in the vernacular language so that individual beneficiary can understand. So as a private player, you people also require that whenever any government scheme ads are there, you must keep it circulating your different digital platform at least so that more and more public can be aware and information is rightly conveyed to the intended beneficiaries.
So, I think the theme is when it comes to government information and services, it's communicating, and perhaps over-communicating. And the thing is, if you're pissed off with government, too bad. As sir said, government is a monopoly. You have to put up with it. But when it comes to brands, you're pissed off with one brand, you lose trust, loyalty is gone. You switch to another one because there is those many. So Jatin, in a situation like that, what do brands do?
You mentioned when we started this discussion, you mentioned the example of Eli Lilly. They lost $15 billion in in one day. What, between 4 to 5% of their total stock market. Now it cost only $8 to cause that damage, right?
Yeah.
Twitter launched the verified blue tick scheme. You could pay $8 a month. Somebody paid that $8, created that account, and tweeted that insulin is going to be free. I mean, not only this company, there were others in the market who suffered because insulin is something that is mass consumed. Now, the answer to your questions has actually come from my co-panelists. Sir said that we need to be over-transparent. The fact is that we need to build an information culture in our society, which is completely missing. We withhold information because information is power. But if democracy is about devolution of power, then when information is power, then devolution of information is absolutely necessary. I'll give you an example of the RTI Act, right? RTI Act, in our perception, is one of the best transparency legislations in the world, right? It's been ranked among the top 5. Secondly, the RTI Act says that the government agencies should proactively provide information to the people. They should volunteer information, but it has been reduced to a tool for seeking information on the basis of questionnaires. So this is the culture that we need to bring in, whether in the government sector or in the private sector or in our society per se. That it's not over transparency, it's just transparency. Trust is the last stage of sustained credibility. So you start a relationship with integrity. You build it on the basis of communication. You constantly communicate that integrity in that relationship. Then you get to a level of credibility. Once that credibility is sustained over a long period of time, then you get to trust. But trust can be destroyed very easily, because we've seen that these guerrilla tactics, the example that we just discussed. I mean, 15 billion US dollars being lost because somebody just tried to play a prank, or whether they had some gain or some loss in mind, we don't know really. That the investigation will reveal. But we have to build a culture in society that each one of us feels more secure in sharing what we have rather than withholding it. Otherwise, we are. We used to, when we discussed warfare, we used to talk about, or when we discussed international relations, we used to talk about soft power, hard power, military power. Now we have the culture of sharp power, when somebody can come with a blade and just cut through, slit through a very large balloon, and everything will go for a toss. So we have to start. This has to start from the ground level, from the way we educate ourselves and our future generations. Brands cannot isolate themselves. If Passport Seva is using Twitter to reach out to citizens, or using it as a listening tool for citizens, then brands automatically also get involved in this process. This dichotomy, or this difference of thinking between government sector and private sector, this has to go. We are in a new culture. We have to adapt and evolve new cultures of information sharing for the larger public good.
Thank you. We have a few minutes left, so we can take a couple of audience questions. So if anyone has questions, please raise your hand. We'd be happy to answer them.
So the maximum beneficiaries for government is the rural part of our India, which we call as Bharat. So they are the most vulnerable as far as digital fraud is concerned. And from my opinion, they are less educated as far as countering digital fraud is concerned, especially the women part of it. So how are we countering, be it the private player or the government players? Now Google has announced something new today. So we have big players, Google's and TCS and rest of the technology companies, and all are Indians. So how are we going to counter it?
Anyone on the panel would like to take that?
I think very important questions you said, and especially when we are dealing with our, section of the society who are at the far end of our villages or of our countries, not only in terms of demography, but also in terms of, as you said, education, literacy, so and so forth. What we have realized saying that when you come into such situation, as I said, you have to find out a way out of it. Doesn't go back into the same legacy. You have to look forward a way out of it. Let me quote one example. When we launch this Passport Seva, make it completely digital to you, feel online and connect to me, there is a huge kind of a cry for these kind of a citizens saying that where do I go? You have made it complete digital, online. Where do I land, right? And that is the time, I remember that point of time, we had approximately 45,000 common service center launched across the country by another government department, which is METI, Ministry of IT, right? We realized saying that what purpose this common service center has been launched. This is for the purpose where to connect to those citizens who do not have computer, internet at home, or maybe they are illiterate, semi-literate kind of a citizens. We immediately connect to those 45,000 common service center, gave a huge advertisement in their local vernacular, local languages. And there was a day, the same citizen said, saying that, no, I have absolutely no problem because you have created that ecosystem for me. So the idea is how do you leverage this government ecosystem also at large? We are creating a lot of platform. Many a time we are not able to leverage those platforms. How do you leverage, how create that ecosystem? And the same ecosystem will deal in terms of making that user or citizen educate. It will help you to connect that user or citizen to the government department the way they want to connect. It is not the other way. You simply cannot create something and throw back to the citizen saying that, no, use it now. So it should be other way. So that's what my take is. Thank you.
One thing which we must remember is when we want to reach Bharat vis-a-vis India, one thing is language. One, we need to have a vernacular translation or whatever. Now we have AI tools which can very easily do that. That's number one. The other thing which, you must have heard the debate about digital divide versus, but I feel, so there are two schools of thought. One says that digital divide will further the economic divide because those who are economically backward will not get access to digital and they will be having further disadvantage. I say that digital is a great leveler. Digital divide is much lesser than economic divide, and digital transformation brings people more on equal footing than any other thing. For example, before Aadhaar came, you see the access of other IDs, driving license, PAN card, passport, any other ID. Who had access? India had access to them. Bharat didn't have access to them. Aadhaar came, Bharat and India have equal access. Same 12-digit number is with Mukesh Ambani, same 12-digit number is with Ram Khilawan. That is a great leveler. Whether you say online passport, all these online services, the same access which somebody has in a place like Central Delhi or Noida, the same access is available to a citizen in Devariya or Belgaum. So that is an online access. And with these 4.5 lakh CSCs, now earlier, so the number is now about 4 to 5 lakh CSCs. So they can access, physical access was difficult to them. Easier to people, so physical access, Bharat was a loser, India was a gainer. Online access, Bharat and India, same footing. So I think the digital thing is making Bharat more equal to India. Any online platform You can learn from any place in rural India. The other thing which I feel in terms of Bharat versus India is the cost of accessing. The cost of transportation, if you see for a rural person, is much higher than what cost he pays to a kiosk there. So I think these are the factors which help building the trust, transparency, and access to Bharat as good as India.
Mr. Devendra Kumar, closing comments, quickly.
Just for sake of example, we have Umang has in the 21 languages which can access the information on mobile. There is a India Postal Payment Bank. So post office has been also, leverages to get the information for the rural area. And as Sir has rightly said, the CSC, that is a Common Service Center, which is provides more than 200 services to the villagers. And it is in every district of the country, more than 4.5 lakhs centers are there. So these are the leveraging things, and most of the things are being, contents are being uploaded, AV contents has been uploaded by the ministries on the, about all the schemes. So visual things, anybody who is illiterate also in the rural area, or maybe the women or the vulnerable section of the society, they can easily go to the YouTube and see the ministry website that this is the information, this is the benefit which has been for us. So that gives a very, very powerful tool to awareness. And if there is an aware citizen, if they are the known citizens, they know about their right, their entitlement, that is the best thing which India can provide and the digital platform can provide to the empowering the individual. So by utilizing the digital tools, we are empowering the rural as well as the urban. So that is you will be surprised that India has the least, data charges in the world. And we have more than 800 millions of smartphone in the country. I mean, the feature phone can have the, like in PM Kisan, you can dial 1555 and you can get the access. So these are the leveraging tool which is utilized by the, government of India to empower the citizen in different way. Thank you.
Thank you. And with this, we've come to the end of our session. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you so much, Rajneil. Thank you so much, panelists, for being here. And it was an insightful session. I could see the way, it was people were right here and could not move. Thank you so much. We would love to have you here for the next sessions also. With that, can we have a group photograph, please? While we're having the photograph done, I would like to introduce you to the next session, which is going to be very interesting. The OTT we keep talking about. So the next session is actually a very captivating trialogue discussion on the topic, from web series to short form video contents, managing growth through changing trends and consumer. It's a time where we are when the web series have been spoken about so much.